The hospital's ceiling lights blurred above me, melting into white halos as my body shook uncontrollably. Every breath felt borrowed, dragged painfully through lungs that refused to cooperate. Somewhere far away, a machine beeped in an uneven rhythm, reminding me that I was still alive, barely. My stomach burned where they had rushed to stitch me after the delivery went wrong. Words like hemorrhage, emergency, and we're losing too much blood echoed in my mind. Even though I couldn't remember when I'd heard them, I only remembered screaming once. After that, everything fractured. "Where is my baby?" I whispered. My voice sounded small, fragile, like it didn't belong to me anymore. I turned my head weakly, searching the room, searching for something, anything, that proved my son was real. A nurse stepped closer and gently placed her hand over mine. "Your baby boy is in the NICU," she said softly. "He had trouble breathing, but the doctors are with him now." Tears slid into my hairline. I hadn't held him. I hadn't kissed his forehead. I hadn't even seen his face. Fear crawled into my chest and wrapped itself around my heart. "I need my mother," I said, desperation sharpening my voice. "Please call her." The nurse hesitated for just a second before nodding. When my mother arrived, she didn't rush to my side. She didn't grab my hand or ask if I was okay. She stood at the foot of the bed, perfectly composed, as if she were attending an appointment she hadn't planned on keeping. The doctor explained my condition, quickly: postpartum hemorrhage, unstable vitals, the possibility of another procedure. Then he mentioned the baby. He needs skin contact from a family member. The doctor said it could help regulate his breathing. My mother's face hardened. "I'm not doing that," she said. The room fell silent. The nurse stared at her. "Ma'am, that's your grandson." My mother folded her arms. "I warned her not to get pregnant. She didn't listen. I'm not taking responsibility for her mistakes." I tried to speak, but my throat tightened, choking the words before they could escape. My chest ached worse than my body ever could. "That baby," she continued coldly, "is not my problem." Something inside me cracked in that moment, quietly, completely. I realized then that the blood we shared meant nothing at all. Pain came in waves, dragging me under and yanking me back just long enough to feel it again. Voices floated above me, urgent, clipped, frightened. My body felt heavy, distant, as if it no longer belonged to me. I tried to open my eyes, but they wouldn't stay open for more than a second. "Her blood pressure is dropping again. We're losing time." The words slipped past me like water, but one voice remained sharp and unmistakable. My mother's. "I've already said no," she snapped. "Why are you still asking me?" The ER doctor's voice was calm but firm. "Because this is a medical emergency, ma'am. Your daughter may need another procedure, and the baby, he's still unstable." I forced my eyes open just enough to see them standing near the foot of my bed. My mother looked irritated, as if this whole situation were an inconvenience interrupting her day. "What happens to her is her problem," she said. I raised my children. I'm done. My heart clenched painfully. Even half conscious, I felt every word cut deep. The doctor inhaled slowly. "Let me be very clear," he said. "You are the only family member present. Your refusal to assist or consent will be documented. So document it." My mother replied coldly. The room went still. The doctor stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Medical refusal in a life-threatening postpartum case can be classified as neglect. That applies not only to your daughter, but to her newborn child." My mother laughed once, sharp and dismissive. "Don't be dramatic. I'm not his guardian. No," the doctor agreed. "But you are making a choice that could affect whether he lives." Her laughter died instantly. He continued, unflinching. "If the baby survives, this record remains. If he doesn't," he paused, letting the weight of his words settle. "This becomes part of a permanent medical and legal file." Color drained from her face. "You can't do that," she whispered. "We already are," he replied. I felt tears spill down my temples, not because I wanted her to change her mind, but because I finally understood something painful and undeniable. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She wasn't afraid of losing her grandson. She was afraid of being exposed. The nurse brushed my hair back gently, her touch filled with pity. "We'll take care of her," she said quietly, not to my mother, but to me. In that moment, I knew the truth. Love should never feel like a weapon. And anyone who uses it as one does not deserve to be called family. I woke up to the sound of steady beeping, slow and reassuring. For a moment, I didn't remember where I was, or who I was. Then the pain returned, sharp and real, and everything came rushing back. The delivery, the blood, my mother's voice saying that baby is not my problem. My eyes filled with tears before I even realized they were open. A nurse noticed immediately and rushed to my side. "Hey," she said softly, "you're safe. The surgery went well. My baby," I whispered. "Please, my baby," she smiled, the kind of smile meant to hold someone together. "He's alive. He had a rough start, but he made it through the night." Relief hit me so hard I sobbed, my body shaking despite the pain. The nurse let me cry, her hand warm on my shoulder, grounding me in the moment. A few minutes later, my husband stepped into the room. His face was pale, eyes red, like he'd been fighting tears for hours. He crossed the room in 3 quick steps and took my hand carefully, as if I might break. "I'm so sorry I wasn't here," he whispered. They wouldn't let me in until the surgery was over. I shook my head weakly. "He's okay." He nodded and smiled through tears. "He's strong, just like you." Later that day, they wheeled my son into the room. He was so small, wrapped in wires and blankets. But when they placed him against my chest, something inside me settled for the first time. His tiny fingers curled against my skin, as if he already knew I was his safe place. My mother never came back. Instead, she sent messages, long, defensive paragraphs filled with excuses. I was scared. You know how hospitals make me feel. I didn't mean it the way it sounded, but apologies that arrive after survival feel hollow. A hospital social worker visited me 2 days later. She spoke gently, explaining that the ER doctor had filed a report documenting my mother's refusal. "It's standard," she said, "especially when a newborn's life is involved." I nodded. I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt clear. I didn't press charges. I didn't confront her. I didn't need to. When we were discharged, I blocked her number. No explanation, no closure. Because sometimes survival itself is the loudest answer. And sometimes the sweetest revenge is choosing peace over people who never chose you. Time did what pain could not. It softened the sharp edges and taught me how to breathe again. Days turned into months, and months into years. The scar on my body faded from angry red to a thin silver line, but the lesson it left behind never disappeared. My son grew stronger with every passing day. He learned to walk holding onto furniture, then learned to run straight into my arms. His laughter filled the house in a way I never remembered my childhood home sounding. When he cried, I was there. When he reached for me, I never hesitated. I became the kind of mother I once wished for, the kind who stayed. Sometimes, late at night, I would watch him sleep and think about the night he almost didn't make it, about the woman who had stood in a hospital room and turned her back on him before she even knew his name. I never spoke about her, not to my son, not to friends, not even to myself, after a while. Then one afternoon, years later, I saw her. I was standing in the produce aisle of a grocery store, my son holding my hand and chatting excitedly about the apples he wanted, when I felt a presence behind me. I turned, and there she was. She looked smaller than I remembered, older. Her hair was streaked with gray, her posture no longer sharp with confidence. Her eyes moved from my face to my son, and something like recognition flickered there. "That's Tim, isn't it?" she asked quietly. I nodded once. "Yes," she swallowed. "He's beautiful." I smiled, not out of pride, but certainty. "I know." She reached out, then stopped herself, her hand trembling. "Can I?" "No," I said gently. The word landed softly, but it carried years of meaning. Her face went pale, her mouth opening as if to argue, to explain, to rewrite the past. But there was nothing left to say. I chose him when it mattered. I continued. "You didn't." My son tugged on my hand, impatient to move on. I squeezed his fingers and turned away without another glance. As we walked out into the sunlight, I felt lighter than I ever had. Not because she finally understood, but because I no longer needed her to. I had already won.